The world's most expensive G-Shock revealed, we get hands-on with the new Elliott Brown Whiteout, new releases from Tissot, Longines, Formex and Moser, plus we get ready for our travels to Dubai. All this and more on the show today. Welcome to the Scottish Watches podcast. Dave is not with us any longer. It's unfortunate to say. He's back in Switzerland. Not further afield, further down the way, but far enough away that I don't have to deal with his dulcet tones in real life. He is across the water. He is across time zones, in fact. He is back at Raj HQ, but we have got him with us today for 1 hour and 1 hour only. How is Dave doing?
Dave's good. Dave's back in the room of the interrogations. So grey walls, no fancy backgrounds this time, but hopefully a good quality camera. So if you are watching this on YouTube, you can see our beautiful faces in high definition. Otherwise, you just need to listen to our dulcet tones, as Ricky described them as, in your ears.
And a good time to tell you to check the show notes if you are sitting there listening to us, or even if you're watching the YouTube video, because the show notes are where you'll find all the technical spec, all the links, the videos, the pictures, all that good stuff. If you're watching this on YouTube, drop us a like, drop us a comment, and definitely subscribe because we've got lots of cool stuff happening. We are going to be going mental over in Dubai. We're going to have lots of pictures, videos, clips, interviews, all kinds of stuff. Anything we can cram in, because the first time we went, we didn't really know what we were doing, didn't know what to expect. We spoke to some brands, we kind of concocted episodes around that. This time we're going to go crazy. We're going to go around all the booths, check out all the new releases and some of the firm favourites from the last year or two from all the different brands that are there. The previous episode that came out just before this one is with Barbara Plumbo and Hind Siddiqui, and they explain everything. And there's still time to board the flight, jump across and check the show out in person if you can get the time off work and if you've got some spare pennies in the bank to get your plane ticket. But anyway, on with the show, and we should probably get the wrist checks done. Should I go first, Dave?
You're definitely going first because I always come second.
Okay then, I'll go first and I will tell you what I've got in the wrist. This is a bit of a preview, a special, sitting across from the folks down at Elliott Brown Watches. Now, they've been on the show a couple of times, most recently maybe 2 months ago, and they were showcasing all the new releases that they've got. They're historically known for creating tank-tough watches, generally quartz, although they've moved into automatics, and the one I've got on today is a stunner of an automatic. One of the videos they put out that we absorbed into our Instagram feed showcased them attaching C4 plastic explosives in a quarry under one of their watches. Then they set the thing off to see what would happen, to see if the movement would pop out. But no, it didn't. It survived. I think the only thing that happened was something to do with a bit of lume came off one of the tips of the hands, which is pretty incredible when you think about it. You've seen videos perhaps of somebody driving over a G-Shock. Well, to actually blow a metal watch up and have it intact and actually functioning is pretty good going. So I have got on today the new release. This is kind of special. I'll take it off the wrist and I'll tell you more about it. So this is their Whiteout limited edition version of the Holton, and this takes a lot of inspiration, as you probably guessed, from military. They work behind the scenes with a number of different units within the MOD, Her Majesty's different armed forces, and this one here is designed more, not for the camouflage you would normally see with greens and browns, but if there were any expeditions that involved snowscapes, this would disappear completely into the background. With Elliott Brown, you get a lot of bang for buck. We say that in the show with lots of different brands, but in this case, it is 100% on the money. Lots of different things on this release versus previous iterations of the Holton that I've spotted is this is one of the first watches I've ever seen that has got a loomed logo, a crest on the back of the clasp itself, which lights up in green, and on the front itself, it's got a white dial, but it ain't white. It's a slightly off-white. It's more a cream, and the reason for that is this is caked in Superluminova and has a nice pinkish purple hue once the sun goes down. Tiny little date display down at the half-pour position, which almost disappears out of view, but it's there when you actually go looking for it. And this one is the GMT edition with a really nice knurled edge to the bezel, an almost hidden crown at the half-pour position, and everything on it is brushed. It looks like titanium, but it's actually stainless steel, but everything has this matte effect, sort of sandblasted peen finish on it. And the best thing is, you get all the tools in the box when you buy an Elliott Brown. If you want to change the strap out, you want to actually adjust things, you get everything in there. You don't have to go looking for special tools. The reason I'm talking about this one in particular today is, at Watch Pro Salon at the end of the week, this will be available to purchase on pre-order. It won't be available anywhere else at any other time, but towards the end of this week, you can get your grubby mitts on it if you like the look of it. So jump onto the show notes, check the description in the YouTube video, go across to their website and have a look at it because this is stunning. What do you think of this one, Dave? This is the first time you've probably seen it.
Yeah, no, I think it's a great looking watch. You know, that hue of the titanium, which has got that slightly matte finish against that lume dial. I think it's a really kind of understated, stealthy looking watch that pretty much comes alive at night, as you say, once that dial starts to kind of loom up and glow in the dark. So yeah, it'll be great to see that. And as you say, this is the first time they're doing a launch in this way, only available for pre-order for, I believe, 36 hours, which will be predominantly at Watch Pro Salon, which takes place in the coming week, if you're listening to this on the day it releases. They also, I believe, will make it available for the same time, at the same time, on their website and via their crew room, I think they call it, in Poole, Dorset, where they're based. But you can only directly from them or with them at the London Hotel, where Watch Pro Salon this year is taking place. So a cool way to do this launch, a little bit different. More and more brands seem to be doing these slightly timed or releases where there's no limitation to numbers as long as you get your order in during that time period. So yeah, really clever, good looking watch.
So that's my wrist check done. Dave, what have you got today for us?
Well, probably no 2 points for guessing what I'm wearing, seeing as I'm at the Raj in Beale, and sure enough, I am wearing a Raj. One of the prototypes I'm wearing today, which is the Raj Superseed Date. This is the second variation of the Superseed after the GMT, a much simpler affair which merely has time, centre seconds and, as the name would suggest, a date on it as well. Comes in two dial colours. I am wearing the blue one here as opposed to the black. I'm not a big blue watch person, it has to be said. I don't really have that many watches with blue dials, so this one did take me, although it's probably more that bright orange second hand, as many people will know, orange is very much my favourite colour. So yep, that is what I've been wearing around. This is one of the engineering samples. I just thought I fancied wearing a blue watch today, and this one was nearby, so I had it on, because you know there's certain other watches I've got that I can't really wear in the work, as it might be a bit of a fox in the hen house.
And a question would be, how's your OCD at the moment?
My OCD needs to be alphabetical, so even the mere phrase OCD gets me going. Why, say you ask?
How aligned is your bezel?
My bezel appears to be one click off. Well noticed.
Do you want to give the guys that are watching this on YouTube a bit of an insight into the depths that you can delve with that electron microscope in front of you?
Indeed. Let's have a look how deep we can go, because, you know, as in the watch world, and has been said by maybe someone at Hodinkee, they like to go deep. In we go. In we go. Oh.
This is like the start of the film Limitless, where it just constantly zooms in and in and in. And I'm wondering why you've got an electron microscope on your desk, Dave. Are you allowed to take that home at the weekends? Does it come with tweezers?
It's for studying of the smaller parts of the human anatomy, and as someone of short stature, one knows a little bit about smaller pieces of anatomy. Disappointment. But when you have one of these microscopes, everything just looks a bit bigger. And I mean, who doesn't want it to be a little bit bigger?
Well, I don't think they really come much bigger than the next watch we're going to talk about. And this is from G-Shock, a brand we both love. We have many of them. In fact, I've had to order a couple of new watch boxes to house my growing collection of G-Shocks and other paraphernalia. But we recently got to see the folks when they came up to James Port & Son in Glasgow, because they were doing an event to celebrate 40 years of the brand, and next year I believe it's 50 years of Casio as a whole. I thought Casio had been going a lot longer than that, but they've got something that initially when I saw the pictures of it, I thought AI had designed this, because it was this big, massive, monstrous gold number, but it turns out it's going to be a release version, and a very expensive one at that, Dave. So do you want to tell us all about it?
Absolutely. So this is their release, the second of what they call their dream project. So they did release a dream project, as many people may remember, and I think we actually covered it, because I believe I saw this a few years ago, just before COVID, I think, and it was when there was a show in London. I think it might have been the very last QP Salon, and they had a classic G-Shock Square, albeit in 18 karat gold. And that one was their dream project.
Is that the ones that were about 70 grand?
That is absolutely correct. There was 35 pieces made, $70,000 a piece, and they all sold out very quickly, based very much on that classic square that you would expect to see from G-Shock. Now, for the 40th anniversary, they have done Dream Project number 2.
I love a number 2.
Everyone loves a number 1 and number 2.
Especially golden ones. Golden number 2s are my favourite.
You know, I'm sure there's an internet site. Check out the show notes and let's see what Miziel comes up with for that one, shall we?
Do you remember good old internet sites where you'd come home from school and there'd be a new website like Style Project or Tub Girl or Goatsy? All those kind of classics.
There's so many things that I wish to remember and also, to be honest, forget at the same time. But you know, should we get back to this watch? Or yeah, we probably should. Dream Watch number 2, one piece. This is going to go to auction with a projected price of between, I believe, $70,000 and $140,000. So this is very likely to be the most expensive G-Shock ever sold. You mentioned AI there. Funny enough, you should mention that, as they have enlisted the help of AI in order to design this watch from the aspect of shape, strength, rigidity, and various other areas. And as you mentioned, you can very much see that in the pictures of the watch, or as it's unlikely for us if you ever get to see it in real life, but it definitely has that sci-fi vibe. It almost looks unreal, it has to be said. They've used a few additional new technologies, obviously, as you would expect. It has the module in there, the digital module, but they have used gallium for the solar cell, a much more efficient, much more expensive material that's only really been utilised predominantly in the solar cells of satellites in orbit, but they're using that here, and it uses the aperture of the date window as the solar cell, so a tiny little specific aperture that's used to garnish the power that this watch needs to run. It's outlandish, outrageous, ridiculously expensive. It's a huge lump of 18 karat gold, 355 grams of it, which is a considerable bulk on the wrist, as the whole bracelet is also gold. That's 60 grams more than was in the previous gold edition. So we're talking a fairly chunky, serious watch here when it comes to the weight. I think it's pretty damn cool. It's completely impractical. It's absolutely ludicrous. We'll never see it ever because it will be bought by a collector and it will go and hide in a cupboard or a safe somewhere. But I think it makes watches all the better that something this absolutely outrageous can actually exist. I'm going to guess you either are going to love this or hate it, and I'm verging towards probably love it.
No, I don't. And the reason for that is, at a first glance, it looks like an AI project. At a second glance, it looks like one of the very ostentatious Invicta watches. And most Invicta watches are over the top, crazy looking things, or maybe a swole watch. I think they renamed themselves as well. And because that's the first impression you get, that's the reason I wouldn't go for this. I did like the squares when they came out, the full metals, the 5000 series. They brought out IP coated gold ones, rose gold ones, then they went crazy with titanium, camo titanium, all kinds of stuff. It's a great project. I love the fact they're using a slightly different technology instead of usual tough solar to repower the thing, and gallium seems to be everywhere. I mean, all the new chargers that are coming out are using gallium. Not for me. I would say, even if this one was 1,000, I still wouldn't go for the look of it. It's just a little bit over the top. And you know me, I like over the top stuff, and so do you. But nah, definitely not for me, this one. We'll let it go to somebody else.
It makes it great for the watch world that something like this does exist. But, you know, I think it's pretty clever that they've made one of them. It will go to the ultimate G-Shock collector. I think, unlike the last one, they would probably have struggled to move 35 units of it.
Yes, but we've not struggled to get your comments, your feedback, your criticisms, because our YouTube channel is growing quite well. We've had it for a number of years, but it lay dormant. We used to do live things on a Friday before our time, before all the live streams kicked off. And now we take the podcast to the visual medium, and we've had a lot of great responses. In the last couple of weeks, we have had people mention different brands that we've had on the show. Citizen, we've had guys talk about the Christopher Ward. So let's just get a few of those comments up on screen and let's have a chat about them.
So Gren Phelps 7455 says, nice video. I agree with you over Citizen not bringing some of their other watches to the UK. There's two other watches Citizen should think about bringing here. The Chronomaster, Jody has one, Great looking watch. And the other one is The Citizen in platinum. What a great duo of watches.
And that is a comment on the two watches we get sent across from Citizen UK's PR department. The ones that actually turned up, they didn't just end up on eBay somewhere. And we were really taken with the fact they were $2.99, plus you can get a discount if you go to the Citizen website. And they were fantastic, wore really well, in the vein of the Tissot PRXs, but less expensive with in-house movements, I suppose you could say, because Miyota is part of Citizen, along with La Joux-Perret, Frederique Constant, and loads of other brands that you don't usually think about. So, yep, fantastic watches. Fingers crossed they do bring more across to the UK. Next up, we have a message from Short Fridays. I didn't understand one word you said, but I like your channel. Well, you won't understand what the f*** we're saying just now, so that doesn't really matter. And we'll finish up with...
Iconus, who says, that CW moon phase is such a beautiful piece of timekeeping marvel. And I agree wholeheartedly with this watch really elevating Christopher Ward as a brand. This is their premium dressy piece, along with the 12 in the sports area, and obviously with the Belcanto that they brought out merely a year or so ago as well. So really, that brand bringing itself up from where it has been previously. Not that it was in a bad place, great value watches, but really getting a bit more of a individual identity of their own now as well. So yep, absolutely agree with you on that one.
I've been taking the moon phase out and about, and this is a total departure from what I usually do. It is not the type of watch I like, I wear, or would have on a leather strap, and it has remained on its leather strap. It went to the Fossil shop in Scotland, paid a visit there. That'll be in the next show. We'll get to that because there's loads to talk about in this show. But even in the Fossil shop or anywhere that I go where there's somebody that's to do with watches, the first question is, can I have a look at that? And that never usually happens. Any of the other watches, apart from maybe the Mad One Red, because it was just so crazy looking and people are interested to understand what it is and how it functions. The moon phase, they're just taken with it. That dial, that blob of superluminova ceramic material that creates the two moons that obviously rotate around. It's just stunning. Absolutely fantastic. So, yep. Good to see people are agreeing with me and Dave, because it doesn't usually happen.
We struggle enough to agree with each other, never mind with others agree with us as well. But moving along, seems to be another little anniversary piece here from Tissot.
There is. This is a late breaking news item that we spotted just before we hit record. And to put you guys in the picture, we're going to be doing a lot of recording and I'm going to be doing a lot of editing and Mizzy's going to be doing a lot of show notes because, as we mentioned before, we're off to Dubai for a week, which means we have to cram all the stuff in before, get it scheduled, get it sorted out, and then get it drip fed out to you guys every Thursday and Monday. So if you spot the next couple of episodes, I've got watches that you might have seen more than a week ago. That is the reason why. As we're across there, we're getting new content for you all over the Christmas and festive period. It just means that we're having to catch up with things that have happened in the last few weeks. And there's been a few little ones that have kind of gone through the cracks that we're now scooping back up and we're going to bring to you on the show. And the first one is from Tissot. And I had a look at this and it's got a very classic look. It definitely is not a PRX, it's not a digital, it's not even some of the other models that are out there with their Powermatic 80s that you'll have seen in the stores that just look like standard Tissots. This one, it's very blue, it's very white, it's got a really nice kind of dial to it.
So this one is an anniversary of an anniversary. Tissot were 150 years old back in 2003. Obviously, this is now 2023. And back for the 150th anniversary, they introduced a new family of watches, that being the Le Loc collection, obviously based around Tissot being formed as a company in Le Loc, Switzerland. Now, this is the 20th anniversary of that collection being launched. So, as we say, an anniversary of an anniversary. But we all know how much watch companies love having anniversary editions. This is definitely at the dressier end of the Tissot spectrum. Obviously, over the last couple of years, many of you will have seen things like their PRX and also the Tissot Carbon release that they had out recently as well. This being much more probably what you might expect from someone, say, like Longines more than Tissot. Roman numerals, a 39mm case, and a Clou de Paris dial in there as well. This anniversary one, some things to like about it, some things I like less about it. The blue dial with the Clou de Paris looks great, 39mm, nice size, polished stainless steel case, good looking bracelet, all good so far. Display case back with every single piece of writing you could possibly imagine. not so cool. We know we've all got a bit of a problem. When you have a display case back, let it be a display case back. If you want to put lots of text and information on it, use a solid case back. Underneath the powering though, pretty solid. Powermatic 80, as you would expect, pretty much a stalwart movement of the Swatch Group these days, especially at this price point. 80 hours of power reserve, Nivercron spring in there, allowing for the anti-magnetic properties. All of the good stuff, good solid movement, based back on that more traditional 2824 ETA architecture. Brought the speed or the frequency down a little to get that extra power out of it as well. So all good there. Price point wise, really solid, coming in at €775, 750 US dollars, 675 Swiss francs. So very attainable for a nice looking dress watch. So if you're maybe not that dress watch person and you're thinking to yourself, I could do with one for office wear, weddings, funerals, all those kind of formal things, looking when you're at court or you're up for your meetings, this might be the answer. Good looking watch, not my thing, not a fan of Roman numerals, but value for money wise, pretty solid proposition.
I can see it now. The next advertising campaign from Tissot will say, Dave from Scottish Watches says, for your next funeral, buy a Tissot.
Am I right or am I right?
It's a little bit flamboyant, should we say? A little bit bright, a little bit breezy. Perhaps something more solemn and black and dark and grey. A dark side of the moon, something like that, or a grey side of the moon. That would probably work out best. No, I like the look of this. Not my style, definitely not my style. Although I did say that about moon phase watches with aventurine dials. That has changed. But I like the fact that you've got so much choice available through Tissot and Swatch Group at all the different price points. So next we're going to speak to somebody that has created not a watch, but something that has got a Swiss movement inside it.
So here we are with a new person, somebody that's not been on the show before, somebody I've only met once before in Edinburgh. He came across to Global Red Bar. He was going to bring a little friend, but he didn't. But we're going to get introduced to his little friend today.
That sounds rather dubious.
It does, but you know what it's like in our show. We're like that. So for the people that don't know you, and probably including myself, do you want to introduce yourself to the audience?
Yep, I'm Carl. I'm the director and designer with Chrome Caliber, and I have designed what I hope is an interesting and unique watch winder, which I'm happy to bring to yourselves to showcase.
Yeah, we're going to showcase it on this amazing Ouija board table. Yeah.
Hopefully it doesn't fall over.
You can tell it's just after Halloween we're recording this one. So let's just get down and bring it out and show everybody, because I have not seen this. This is a genuine unboxing. I've not seen really. Oh,
here
we're going to like this. Let's move the expensive and less expensive things out of the way.
So here we go.
Wow.
So this is the Retrobot, and it is a fully aluminium model. We've got a Swiss cubic movement inside, which is the master box, which allows you to choose any kind of rotations, any kind of direction of rotation, and it's also Bluetooth enabled, so you can actually use an app on your phone, pick and choose which kind of rotation suits your watch. And then we've also got some additional extras, such as the switches for the lights that come up. So if you turn it to the camera, I'll flick it on the lights. And we're up and running.
Okay, this is cool. I saw the photographs. He actually gave me some stickers when he was across the last time.
That's all I could fit in my bag with some stickers.
It was. And the reason he didn't bring this with you was because I didn't get back to your emails, because I'm like that. And everybody knows I'm like that. Apologies. But this is
fairness. I mean, you were getting over COVID, I think, so I think we'll allow it.
Thank you. You're very generous. But no, we're actually here in Glasgow at the Riverside Museum because this is retro, this is funky, this is something from the past, brought bang up to date. And we've had a wander around, so you'll see some video clips in the YouTube video, and if you're listening to the audio, check the show notes for links. But this fits in perfect for this place. It's mechanical movements, watches, and something from like the vintage 40s, 50s, 60s when it comes to sci-fi.
Mm-hmm.
And I've seen this type of robot in many horror movies where they come alive at night and they just start attacking people. Hopefully this one doesn't.
No, that's not an extra feature. Maybe on the future models.
Yeah. No, this is absolutely stunning. So I brought a very expensive watch to put in said watch winder. So do you want to do the honours and pop it in?
Full on Blancpain.
Yeah.
A few moments later.
You picked a very awkward strap to use here.
I was going colour coordinated, and it's the most expensive automatic I've got.
I doubt that.
6.5 hours later.
And we can pop it in and we flick the switches and away we go.
Fantastic. Right, as people know, I'm not the biggest fan of watchwinders because generally they're cheap, nasty, you get them free, they don't work, they magnetise your watches. Ask me how I know that. And I'm not big with them, but it just so happens I have recently bought myself a moon phase, right? And that's a kind of
very, very tasty moon phase.
Yeah, you wanted to see this today.
Yes.
Because it's a moon phase, because it constantly has to be in motion, otherwise you have to reset it. And setting a moon phase is not the easiest thing in the world. Or if you've got a perpetual calendar, or you like gizmos. Because last year I was at Geneva Watch Days and I got to meet a brand, can't remember how you pronounce it, Rouge or something like that. And they had all kinds of things. They had singing birds, they had music boxes and all kinds of accoutrements like that. Plus we've obviously seen Mad Galleries and the stuff that Max and the team do over there. And this falls right into that kind of wheelhouse. This is the kind of thing that would look great in the set at Scottish Watches headquarters because it's functional and it's super cool.
I think you're trying to angle for a free one.
Can you tell? Can you tell I'm Scottish?
Yeah, well, there you go.
No, it is. It's fantastic. So the actual unit that's inside it, the first thing we should say is you can get watchwinders for about 25 quid. We can find them on Amazon. You can get wolfwinders for a couple £100. You can get this module here for around about £1,000, there or thereabouts.
Yeah, it sort of starts around 750 and goes up to about 1,200.
Yes, yeah, so
that's in euros, so convert that to sterling.
I've seen them. They're really good. Fantastic quality. They've got patented technology inside them that will rotate the watch a certain amount of times one way, a certain amount of times another, and you program it depending on the movement you've got. And they've got a cheat sheet for like the Rolex calibers, whichever one's in it. So, you know, it's fantastic there. So that's the innards. That's the engine.
That's the innards.
Right. So you could say that's like, I don't know, that's the Rover K-Series engine that goes inside your Lotus or something. So tell us about the design of all the stuff that goes around it.
The design of all the stuff around it. Back in November, about 2 years ago, actually, coming up, it was a case of I was sort of sitting around COVID time and just sketching as I normally do. And I decided to come across something and make it a little bit more interesting. And I just always saw watchwinders as these cubes, boxes, you know, they would sit in the back of your wardrobe. You'd kind of forget about them to a degree. And I just started sketching around them and seeing what kind of shapes and oddities I could come up with. And the combination of me and my love of sort of vintage retro kind of toys and things like that, you can't have it. And sort of Legos and that kind of stuff, and mixing those kind of design features around the kind of cube. I wanted to kind of keep it simple because I had to try and make up models out of, you know, cardboard and wood and stuff like this. So a robot really sort of lended into that kind of ethos and style and simplicity for me.
Can you tell I'm trying to hold the table steady and you're fighting me every way?
My elbow's on the table. So
I will look after this.
So yeah, I mean, the initial designs, I was trying to come up with something simple so that I could make it into a simple model out of cardboard and so on. So I did some sketches, made it up in cardboard. I found a video online for designing a movement that is basically with some off-the-shelf electronics. And I put it all together and I was like, okay, this is kind of funky. This functions, this looks cool. And then I had to kind of take it to the next level. So I went and spoke to a prototyping company called Dolman, who have dealt with Guinness and numerous other companies like Philips and so forth. And brought it into them, my little models, and sort of said, listen, I've got an idea for a watchwinder and I'd like you guys to help me sort of make it a bit better.
Realize it. Yeah.
Make it realize it. And I had this whole idea of like, I wanted it to be a high-end product. I wanted it to be luxury. I wanted it to be limited edition. I didn't want it to be something that you could just sort of pick up and buy thousands of them. So I wanted to make it really unique. I wanted it to be a standout product that, you know, you can show off. I went in and spoke to the designers and they were like, we don't even wear watches. I have no clue what a watchwinder is or why anyone would want to. And I was like, okay, let me explain. And that was the first sort of starting with that. We made up the first model using the off-the-shelf electronics that I had. And we, you know, realized that it would work and it would look kind of cool. And then we had to take it a bit more seriously and find a proper movement. And I tried to get electronics people to to make it up from scratch and everything. And one of these weird coincidences, I ended up talking to Giles from Schofield Watches.
Oh, yes. I experienced that.
Yeah,
He's rather eccentric.
He's a lovely gentleman.
Yes, indeed.
I love him. But he basically said, why don't you just buy a movement? You know, it's similar to the kind of ethos when you're designing a watch. You buy a Sellita movement.
Yeah.
You put it into the watch and then you launch your brand. I was like, okay, well, that makes sense. So I got in contact with a couple of other companies, and Swiss Cubic said, yeah, no problem. And I said, okay, but I want to alter your mechanism a little bit. And they said, do what you like. I was like, that's great. Do I have to sign any documents or anything? No, do what you like. And I was like, okay, cool. So I did what I liked, and I created this. And then I got an Irish electronics company to change the switch that's normally sort of down here on the Swiss Cubic, to put it up here and then add in the extra lights. So that's kind of the year and a half that it took me to design it, and eventually got the prototype that you see here in May this year.
For a prototype, this is rather good. I mean, genuinely, this is the first time I've seen it. I've seen the pictures, you gave me stickers.
Yeah.
But as people will know with the show, I tend to not do any research because I'm lazy. But I tell people it's because I want to take them in the journey as well. And this, for a prototype, is finished phenomenally well. You should see the amount of prototype watches that we get sent that are dog shit. They really are.
No, and I was talking to the prototyping company, and they were saying, well, you've kind of designed it far enough. And I went, no, I want to design it further. I want to spend a bit more and make sure that it is pristine.
Yeah.
It's about 98% to the actual, production model that'll come out to market. But I wanted it to get it as close as possible so that when I'm showcasing it, people get the idea and they can feel the weight of it. They can...
Yeah, it's hefty.
They can see the mechanisms and everything working away. And
what's the weight?
Just over 2.2 kilos.
2.2.
Yeah. So it's
got a very heavy watch in it. That's
a very heavy watch, yeah.
Yeah.
No, so that's ceramic.
It is brilliant. So what's your background and your history? Because again, we've not really chatted about this because I wanted to ask you live.
I was just wandering around the museum and you just
came here yesterday.
Grabbed me.
We planned to come here because I had this errant thought that there was one of these type of robots. I'm pretty sure there was in a display cabinet in this place, and I thought it'd be a good kind of comparison. But we did find lots of vintage toys and things like that. So it's not a wasted journey for you.
No.
But you decided to come here yesterday.
Yeah.
And walk around. So I was going to show you the splendor of the place. And you're like, yeah, it's over, your toilets are there.
Yeah, I wasted. Giving you the guide around.
Exactly. You were showing me where the cafe was.
No, I figured I'm in Glasgow. I might as well become a tourist. So I went around on the tourist buses and stopped here and Kelvin Grove and had a look around.
So how did you get into watches? What's your origin story?
Get into my origin story. Let's go back as Batman or Superman. My grandfather. So he had a gold Pulsar digital watch, and it was one of the ones that you click the button on the side and the red LED lit up for about 10 seconds.
And then you had to change the battery.
And then you had to change the battery because it wore down and they didn't have the technology back then. So that was the first one that really got into it. And then my mom had a watch and I sort of destroyed that, taking it apart and trying to find out how it worked. My dad had a Rolex and he wasn't letting me anywhere near it.
Right.
And then I started looking into it myself. So I ended up buying everything from Raymond Veils to start out and, Pulsars and G-Shocks and that kind of stuff. And then it really bit hard. And that's when I started getting into, Zeniths and Omegas and Breitlings and all the other good stuff. And that's the thing. And your parents are always worried that you're going to get in trouble on the streets. And then they're the real sort of dealers in the background, giving you a serious addiction, yeah.
From ground zero.
From ground zero.
This is fantastic.
Yeah.
Any complications, not generally speaking with the mechanism, but producing it? Is this something you've done before? What's your background?
It's not something I've done before. Basically, I did industrial design in college originally, and I never actually utilised the diploma when I did it. I ended up going into the office furniture game. So that's where my family was based, and I used to do the layout drawings, and then I went from there and went into sales, and, the money came calling. So that's where I went with that. I did that for about 17 years, and then left there and went into shop fitting. So I was working with carpenters, wood guys, metalwork guys, all this kind of stuff, putting in shelving and counters and all sorts of bespoke pieces into stores. And then COVID hit and kind of changed my perspective on things. I wanted to get out of that particular game and I wanted to sort of change careers. So I spoke to a career guidance person And they basically gave me a couple of tasks, the Myers-Briggs test to find out what kind of personality you have and everything. They gave me a bit of a test, and they said, what we want you to do is figure out all of the strengths that you have. So your things that you love, things that you're strong at, and so on. We'll sort of design a career based around that. I was like, okay, let's go with this. So
Stripper.
Yeah, basically, yeah. So
I get it.
A body like this, what you expect. So it was just a case of, one of these sort of things. I kind of over project managed the task. And I came back 2 weeks later and she said, I wanted you to spend an hour on this, and clearly you've spent 2 weeks intensively, tearing apart your life and trying to figure out everything from, what kind of car you want to drive and what kind of holidays you want to what kind of career you're good at. And I said, yeah, and I don't want to go into the career that I talked to you about. I want to design watch winders. And she just looked at me like I got two heads. And I showed her a couple of sketches and she went, I've got, an Apple Watch. I don't understand why anybody would want to wind a watch or any of that kind of stuff. And I said, no, I got this idea. I'm going to run with it. And I was like, okay, what I'll do is I'll give myself 6 months because, if you start a new job, it takes you about 6 months to settle in and get a new contract. And I was like, if I can make it 6 months and see how far I get with this, crazy idea of mine. So speaking to the project management or project prototype guys, eventually we got the first model within the 6 months and I went, okay, this is something that I think I can get behind. So that's where I sort of went with this. And then I ended up picking the sort of Tiffany blue and the Mercedes silver as the kind of premium kind of colours that you get out there. Yeah,
it goes really nice with this watch as well, funnily enough.
It does.
Yeah.
It goes nice with every watch.
Yes, it does. No, I'm absolutely blown away, and I'm looking at this with a designer's detailing eye, and I can't spot anything that's amiss. So what's the robot fascination? Again, I look at this and I think of the horror movies. I think the robots with little gnashing teeth that would chase you. So where did it come from you?
The initial design is, you'll actually see it if you Google, there's sort of 60s and 70s tin toy robots. So you'll see one that's a wind-up toy robot. It'll have red feet and arms, and it'll have sort of designs of, valves and gears and everything on the front of it. And I just thought that was a cool kind of concept. And mashing that with a box, with a watch winder, and just putting it into the thing, you sort of are drawn to the chest and the gears and the movement and everything in the front of it. And I just thought those two work perfectly together. And that was the initial design inspiration for it. A combination of that, and when everybody during COVID was on Zoom and you're seeing in the background that they've got their shelves and they're showing off all their interests, their toy statues or their, vintage motorcycle helmets or whatever else, you'll see it on the back of videos and everything. I was like, this could be something that could be shown in the background. It's a talking piece. It's, it could sit on your desk and work, and somebody comes in and you go, what's that? And when I realized that there was, an interest in this is when I show it to somebody who doesn't know anything about watches, has no idea what the reason behind a winder is or any of that kind of stuff.
What did they think of it?
They just smile and they think it's great. They just, that smile to me just goes, okay, I'm onto something.
Glad you didn't hear what I exactly said there, but that's okay.
What did you exactly? I have to get the audio off.
What did Dave say?
What did Dave say?
Yeah, because Dave doesn't know all about watches. No,
he still has some nice Horridge watches. So I mean,
he does, but pronounce it properly. It's Orage. Silent H.
It's the Dublin accent.
It is. It is. No,
I'm not as posh as you guys from Scotland.
It's really, really cool. So what has the collector community, the enthusiast feedback been like? Because I'm loving it.
Well, I'll give you an example. I was in with James Porter and Sons on Wednesday when I flew in. And I was just talking to the guys in the store there, and I was talking to Simon. A little bit of a shout out to him because he put this in the store there yesterday for the day. But one of the sales guys was basically staring at it and taking pictures of it. And he's just like, I want that. I mean, it was ridiculous. I wasn't promoting it to him. I was just like, I want you to have a look at this and see what you think. Give me a bit of feedback or whatever else. And he just kept staring at it and going, I want that, and taking out his phone and taking pictures of it. I was like, I could give you, catalogs and brochures and send you on proper pictures, but no.
Yes.
He was just like, no, that's cool.
It certainly is. No, that's fantastic. Well, if the guys in there have given it the thumbs up, we're in good company.
Yeah.
Right, okay. So how do I actually get my hands on this to keep?
A Kickstarter. So I have to do a crowdfunding campaign, which I'm launching at the beginning of next year.
Okay.
But if you're quick, over the next 2 months, I've actually launched a VIP section on the website. So if you go to chronecaliber.com/VIP, and you'll be able to get it for about €13.50 in euros. Not sure what that is in sterling. It's about $11.75, I think, which is quite a nice little discount.
That is. I thought it was going to be a lot more expensive because I know how much the mechanisms cost.
Mm-hmm.
And then we've got all this over and above, and it's not, I'm going to reiterate this, it's not cheap. And what will the price be if people don't get on board immediately?
If they don't get on board, the price on the Kickstarter will be $1,500. And if you really don't get on immediately, it'll be $2,500 in retail.
Jesus.
Yeah.
So you're, right, okay, so you're cutting out the retail margin by going direct to consumer.
Yes, pretty much.
Cool.
For the moment, unless, there's some retailers out there that want to talk to me.
Yeah. No, that is absolutely fantastic. Well, I think we should probably let everybody get on with their busy lives, which involves going to that website and having a look. But yeah, thank you very much for bringing this over because
Thanks
the pictures, yeah, well, of course, but the pictures don't do it justice. The video doesn't do it justice as much as hopefully this one will. Fantastic. Thank you for coming along and sharing this with us. And keep us updated. Once the Kickstarter is launched, we'll obviously give you a shout out on the show.
Perfect.
And there we have it. Possibly the coolest looking watch winder you can possibly imagine. The great thing, as Ricky mentioned before we heard from him, was if you don't want to use it as a winder, it's a real posh little watch holder as well. And a good quality watch winder costs a serious amount of coin, and that's fair enough because you want it not to damage your watch. So paying that little bit more and having something that's not just a boring square cube on your desk or hiding in the corner of your office, I think having something that really is a centerpiece is pretty cool. Really, you only see these things typically from folk like MB&F or some of these automatons, and these are serious money compared to this. So I think this is really something pretty special and pretty cool. So congratulations on that.
And we actually took some of the footage and dropped it onto Instagram as a quick reel. And again, we had the Christopher Ward inside the tummy of the robot. And it was rotating around and it was sparkling away. And some of the comments, it was a split with the comments. People liked the robot, people liked the watch. But for that kind of money, especially getting in early on the Kickstarter deal, and with that discount, it's definitely something to look at if you like your crazy toys. I've got all kinds of stuff. I've spunked so much money on ridiculous cameras over the last couple of years. It's insane. They all do the same thing. But hey, we like toys. That's why we collect watches. That's why we buy things.
Absolutely. A special little piece here from, again, friend of the show, the guys at Formex. Raphael, someone who's been really courteous to us. Anytime we've been in Switzerland, he's come out, looked after us, showed us around. And for this one, they have a special collaborative watch that's been done with Atlanta Watch Society. Now this is, and I'm going to have to look at my screen to make sure I pronounce this right, the Eisenkeisel limited edition, and it's an Essence 39mm, a model that many of you will be familiar with from the Formex range, but with a very special stone dial. And the stone in question is the Eisenkeisel. This is difficult. Stone dials are not easy. Having to cut, I believe, around about 0.4mm thickness of this stone in order to generate these dials is a huge technical accomplishment. But I think it's really paid off here. You also have that little unique feature where every dial will be slightly different because you're playing with natural materials. Great looking watch, obviously coming in, as the name suggests, at 39mm. 10mm in height, really wearable, and 100 meters water resistance, Sellita movement with COSC certification on there as well. Really special little piece, and Formex, as we know, over the past good few years, have done some great little limited editions, special editions. Another stone dial they did being the Malachite one, which I believe Barbara really enjoyed as well, after initially being a little unsure of a watch made out of malachite. But learned to love it, and I think we love it as well. So yeah, great things there from Formex.
What to do, listeners, is keep a running tally, because we're going to play a drinking game over the festive period, and it's going to be called the As Well game. Every time Dave says as well, take a shot, and you'll be pissed halfway through the show, I guarantee it. Now, a great looking watch. I think by the time this airs, they'll all be gone, because there was only a limited release of 50 of them, and the dial was stunning. I tried to do a little bit of research on it and found practically bugger all. Rolex have done a similar dial, They obviously charge slightly more than Formex for that for the actual layout versus the actual full price of a Formex watch. But it's got, I don't even know how to explain it. Again, show notes are your friend, but it looks like a lightning flash through dark stone. And they've used rose gold coloured markers and indexes, and everything just comes together and plays very well. And you mentioned the malachite there. Formex, for the last few years, they've done everything. They did their space rock with meteorite. They have done malachite. They did the gamma ray in red. They've got the forged carbon. They just seem to find random things and slice it up and drop it into watches, and each one of them works. There are very few that I've seen over the past few years that I don't like. And this one is incredible looking. So I think they'll probably all be gone by the time you hear this. And if you're not a member of that club, I don't think you'll be able to get your hands on it. But I really like the look of it and wanted to give props. And I wanted to put it in the thumbnail as well. So great stuff from Formex. And the malachites, I hear, will be back in stock. They only do a limited amount of them per year. Don't know why, don't know if it's an issue with the amount of the stone and materials that you can get, or the fact that they're producing so many different watches and they have to use the tooling for different things. But if you're interested, they will be available late November from the Formex website. So put a note in your diary to check that one out.
And the Essence 39 for me is definitely a watch that has grown on me. Initially, I wasn't up nor down about it, but the more I see it, it's a 10mm thick watch. That in itself is a pretty significant achievement. So, proportionally really well. And the bezel, after initially being, do I like it, don't I like it, really has grown on me. So yeah, a really underrated watch. And if you've never really looked at Formex, check out the show notes, have a look at what they do, and have a look at their website.
And have a listen to the previous two shows where we've had Raf on telling us all about the releases. A couple other things to mention with Formex, if you don't already know. They have got cost movements in most of the watches, check the spec of them. They also have a unique suspension system, which is a bit of a gimmick, but it's also cool. And we know how we like cool things where the watch movement is actually on 4 independent suspension springs in each corner. It's like little mini shock absorbers on a 4x4 car. And then at the back, they have got fantastic on-the-wrist adjustable straps where the clasp has got a pusher on the left-hand side that while it's on, you can press in and you can readjust things without having to take the watch off, adjust, put it on, check, rinse, repeat. So yeah, definitely check them out. Have a look through their other stuff as well, because they've got so many in the catalogue, we'd be here all day listing them. But it's time to talk about another watch from a different brand, and this time it's Longines. This one has sat in our queue, ready to go for a number of weeks, and we've finally got the time to talk about it. And again, Longines, a little bit like Tissot, is a brand that always kind of bubbles under. They don't really produce things that are so crazy and exorbitant when it comes to pricing or the way they look that they get the headlines. But this is something that is starting to encroach on Tudor territory at a price point that's far more pocket friendly.
And what are we talking about? We're talking about the Longines Spirit Flyback Chronograph. Now, this is not necessarily a new watch, but it's a new version of an existing watch. And what have they done to make it new? They've made it out of titanium, the previous iterations being in stainless steel. Now, there's lots of things I do like about this watch. I like a column wheel chronograph. I like a flyback chronograph. What I'm not so keen about this, let's get it out of the way to begin with, it's a bit on the fat side, coming in at 17mm tall on a 42mm case. Now we've got that out the road, everything else about this watch I'm really rather taken by. Ever since Longines scaled back the Zulu watch that they did before, that being the Spirit Zulu Time, they have managed to bring some of their watches down a little bit in size, this one being no exception, albeit they're still struggling with how tall the watch is. But full titanium, albeit only in one dial colour, whereas the steel case variant comes in, I believe, 3 or 4 colourways dial-wise. So that's maybe a limitation as it's an anthracite dial. So quite a toned down looking watch with that titanium kind of light grey with a slight blue tinge to it with the anthracite grey dial. So definitely on the toned down scale. You can get a couple of options. It can either come on a NATO strap, if you go for NATO, coming in at just under $5,000, or you can have it on the titanium bracelet, coming in at around about $5,200. For me, it's definitely a watch to be had on the bracelet, as with a NATO strap, it adds even another few millimeters to the height of the watch, which at 17mm thick, as I say it again, isn't going to do it any favours. Pretty taken by this. You've got the classic 2-counter setup for the flyback chronograph in there, bi-directional bezel with a ceramic insert on there as well. You've got that Longines movement, again, with it being Swatch Group, very much based on ETA architecture, but with the modern anti-magnetic properties. And I believe for a column wheel chronograph, it has around 68 hours of power reserve, which, is a pretty decent amount of power reserve to be had on a column wheel chronograph. So for me, this is so nearly a hit. And like so many Longines for me recently, they are so close to being a watch that I would genuinely consider, but there's always something that kicks it. And in this, it's definitely the height of it.
But that is the end of this show. We're about to record the next show, as I say, ahead of time before we get ready to rock over in Dubai. But if you've got anything you want us to catch up with when we're there, have a look and see what brands are there. And if you can't make it yourself, let me and Dave know. Drop us an email, info@scottishwatches.co.uk, and we will go around, we'll ask the questions of the watchmakers and the brands and the founders, if you have anything, so drop us any questions. And we'll be doing lots of little Instagram things as well while we're across, so be sure to follow us at Scottish Watches there, and go through the prior catalogue of previous shows. We did a live one at Red Bar, we had the guys at Elliot Brown on, we had, Hind and Barbara from Dubai Watch Week just a week ago, and tons. Rich from Studio Underdog was here telling us about his great second album, of which I believe the figures he put out was just under £2 million worth of orders for that new one in that limited window that he put together. So again, congratulations to Rich for doing amazing things over there. Anything else you want to add in before we let people get on their merry way?
No, merely to reiterate what you just said, if anyone wants anything asked at Dubai Watch Week, remember, do not DM us on Instagram because you will not get an answer. Send an email and we will do our best to get that. If there's any specific watches that you might be aware of that are only going to be seen there and you need pictures of it, please do again let us know so that we can maybe snap a couple of cheeky little pictures and incorporate them into show notes in the future for you. But other than that, on to record another episode pre-Dubai Watch Week, I think, Ricky.
Yep, you're completely correct, and we have got a couple of episodes with interview guests already lined up as well and in the can, so they just need edited and scheduled. So don't worry, while we're away, you can still get your double fix per week. So that is it, that is the end of the show. Thanks for listening, thanks for watching, and we'll catch you guys again soon.